My dad slammed his hand on the table and said he was going to take down his arch-rival. He'd take over his company, bankrupt him, and make him cry and beg in front of me. I started clapping hard, cheering on my dad's bravado. Then, he handed me a key and patted my shoulder. Father and son, on the battlefield together, take him down. That night, I snuck into the rival's villa under the cover of darkness, doing what needed to be done. 6 months later, my dad's nemesis was indeed on his knees before him. Dad had a business rival he couldn't stand. For a year, he'd been losing ground to that guy. There was a big project coming up in 2 days involving 3 parties in negotiations. My dad finally lost it and decided it was time to go head-to-head with his rival. So, he gave me a key, speaking earnestly as he patted my shoulder. You need to outdo me. Take him down. Make sure he can't focus on his company. My dad was determined to win this project. For his career and my future, I took the responsibility with the key he'd gotten and headed straight for Harry's villa. It wasn't my first time at Harry's place. 3 months ago, after Dad lost a big deal to him, we barged in, fuming, hoping to give Harry a hard time. But he wasn't there, so we just plucked all the chives from his backyard and went home to make dumplings. Eating them, Dad and I pondered why his chives smelled so extraordinary. Now, here I was, wondering what exactly I was supposed to do. Was I supposed to imagine a plan? Maybe I should turn off the fridge and let his food spoil so he gets a nasty stomachache later? Genius. Harry, with me as your opponent, how can you ever win? Just after I unplugged the fridge, I heard someone groaning painfully from a room. Despite my nerves, I recognized the person was in distress. Afraid they'd die and I'd become a murderer, I opened the door. A strong smell of alcohol hit me, making me cough. I need water. A simple, direct command came out in a deep, pleasant voice. Okay, since your voice is so nice, I'll grant this small request. I poured him a glass of water. He weakly accepted and took a sip, letting out a few painful noises. He seemed to be hurt somewhere. I asked, what's wrong? Need any meds? Where can I find them? Before he could answer, my phone rang. I hurriedly hit the mute button, but my dad's booming voice was still loud. Diana, how's it going? I whispered, I'm on it, Dad, don't worry. I'll make sure Harry regrets this. Dad was pleased, that's my girl. Harry is done for with you on it. Feeling proud, I turned and met a pair of dark eyes, giving me a start. Ghost. I dropped my phone and ran for the door. In the next heartbeat, a hand grabbed my wrist with a cold remark, I'm a ghost, you're a thief. Isn't it just perfect? The lights came on, and there we were, staring each other down, me and Harry. So, why are you in my house? He demanded. Awkward, but keeping my cool, I gave him a polite smile. I got lost, heard you groaning, and couldn't leave you like that. Us good scouts don't leave someone in trouble. You don't have to thank me. I picked up my phone, waved at him, it's late, you get back to sleep. We'll chat some other time. Harry smiled knowingly. Just as I was stepping out the door, I heard him say, hello, police? There's a thief in my house. Shut up. I threw myself to cover his mouth. He gave a muffled groan beneath me. I've got to admit, close up, Harry's features were striking, and his skin was remarkably great. So envious. Harry, I smirked, hovering over him, I'll let you go but don't scream. Right then, a voice from my phone warned, flirting and false alarms will get you detained next time. The call ended, and Harry's face darkened. If you don't get up, your charges are moving from breaking and entering to robbery and murder. I chuckled, I'm just paying a visit. No proof here, what's the point of talking? Harry smirked, whispering, there's surveillance in the living room. As a habitual offender, you should know that. Our negotiation felt long but was surprisingly short. We found some common ground. Our housekeeper's off for a while. Stay and help for a month, and I won't pursue this tonight. My eyes lit up. I'd been worrying about how to get close to Harry, and now he was inviting me in. Perfect. Okay, I'll do a good deed till the end, send you off with blessings, and burn some paper money for you next year. Harry snorted, agreed. But do you even know what being a housekeeper involves? I listed off the tasks. It's silly, never eaten pork, but seen pigs trot? Not bad, he said, unbuttoning his shirt suddenly. I was momentarily caught by his long fingers, then his collarbone, and a little further. Housekeeper duties don't include. Harry chuckled mockingly, and I glanced through my fingers, gasping. Broad shoulders, perfect waist to hip ratio. But what really caught my eyes was the unhealed wound on his back. You're hurt? So that's why he was groaning, the pain from his wound? He casually handed me a first aid kit, instructing, help me with this. With a shaky hand, I took the kit. The wound seemed like a knife injury, fresh and bleeding again given all his moves. You're injured and drinking? Seriously? I'm not your mother, just the housekeeper. Keep it to yourself. Harry sat upright. Apply the ointment. While treating the wound, a wicked impulse flashed in my mind. If I just pressed hard enough, would he pass out from pain? With Harry missing from the upcoming negotiations, Dad would surely have it in the bag. If you're convicted of the crime of intentional harm that results in serious injury, you'll get 3 to 10 years in prison. Overhead, I heard Harry's cool warning. I swallowed hard. Who's trying to intentionally harm you? Is that how you talk to someone who saved you? I stood with my hands on my hips in front of him. Harry, you should be grateful to those who help you. Oh. He buttoned up his shirt and looked at me, raising an eyebrow. How should I repay someone who broke in? I was stumped by his question. Can't go 3 sentences without talking law. So what if you've studied law for a few years? Such a show-off. Harry finished dressing and said with no expression, I'm hungry. I want porridge. I glanced at the clock. It was 1 a.m. Even the best hired help wouldn't cook porridge at this hour. What? Did I not make myself clear earlier? Do you feel mistreated? Harry raised an eyebrow and pointed to the ceiling, reminding me the cameras recorded me breaking in. Let me remind you, he bent down to be eye level with me, his gaze piercing but infuriating. If you get caught, your reputation takes a hit, and your dad's company could suffer. That contradicts your reason for coming here tonight. Ugh, I couldn't win this argument, especially since he made a good point. I stood in the kitchen, knocking things around. Where's the rice? Where's the pot? How do you start this gas stove? Lost in the kitchen, I glanced at Harry, who was sitting on the couch waiting. I wasn't doing this on purpose. I honestly had no idea how to make porridge. But how hard could it be? I was sure I'd figure it out. Harry walked over, his face blank. Are you the maid, or am I? What? If you're the maid, Harry suddenly stopped in front of me, and you can't cook, what else can you offer? His face was so close. Before, I'd be thinking of which angle to punch to knock out his front teeth. But now, for some reason, my face turned red. Harry noticed and chuckled. I found his smile kind of nice, but then snapped out of it. No way was I falling for that. I had a mission to accomplish. Harry went to make the porridge. I stood outside the kitchen feeling a twinge of guilt. When the porridge was ready, I grabbed 2 bowls and sat across from him. I said after a taste, my eyes lighting up, not bad. Didn't know you could cook so well. Harry gave me a knowing look. A little side dish would be nice. I drank faster, hoping to finish all the porridge so there'd be none left for Harry. Harry ground his teeth in disdain. He put down his bowl and, towering over me, said, "Clean the bowls." He went upstairs but paused at the door. At 6 a.m., I expect breakfast and a clean house. And with that, he disappeared through the door. Next morning, 6 a.m. sharp. Good morning, Harry. I opened the door. Here's your custom wake-up call. Finished speaking, I realized the bed was empty. Harry came out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel, and I froze, staring at his six-pack. Instinctively, I swallowed. Still looking? Harry stood there casually, raising an eyebrow. Want to add harassment to the list? I rolled my eyes. Who's harassing you? With looks like yours, I could find 2 guys for $1,000. Inside, I thought I heard him grinding his teeth. 15 minutes later, Harry came downstairs in a suit. I quietly took back my words. No way you could find 2 like him for $1,000. This is breakfast. Harry stood at the table, looking at me. I made it myself, didn't sleep all night, I said, pointing to my dark circles. Not happy? Make it yourself then. Harry said nothing, sipped, and immediately frowned. Poisoning is murder, attempted if it fails. Look it up, see what sentence you'll get. He stood up gracefully, grabbed his jacket, and headed out. Where you going? I followed him out. He stopped, looking at me. Problem, or can't let go? I was a bit flustered. Remember to come home for dinner. I'll cook properly. His eyebrow raised in surprise, looking at me. By the way, I coughed. What kind of food do you like? Tomorrow's the negotiation meeting. Tonight I needed Harry home, and I had to find a way he wouldn't attend tomorrow. He smirked. I'm allergic to seafood, not picky otherwise. He said as he left, giving me a pointed look. Allergic to seafood? Perfect. I went out and grabbed a bunch of seafood but thought it too obvious. Harry would never eat it. So, I bought some seafood sauce. I followed online videos, tried 4 dishes. After failures, I finally succeeded. It was do or die. I slipped some allergy meds into my pocket. Once Harry had a reaction, I'd give him a couple, making sure he wasn't in danger but sick enough not to attend tomorrow's meeting. I was a genius plotter. 7 o'clock, Harry got home right on time. I eagerly went to greet him. Harry, you're back. I set his slippers neatly before him and took his briefcase. Have you seen those sitcoms where housewives welcome their husbands home? I practiced for half an hour today. Harry looked surprised. Didn't you major in music? When did you pick up female submissiveness? I pursed my lips. In front of you, Harry, I just naturally become submissive. Harry chuckled, walked past, and said, last year, at the bar, saw a girl drag a drunk by the hair, pinned him under a couch and beat him up. He smirked at me. You should learn from her. I stared at him in shock. He was talking about me. Last summer, my friends and I went to a bar. One of them wore a skimpy outfit and got harassed by a drunk, so I beat him up. You were there? He glanced at me with a hint of dissatisfaction but didn't say anything. Did I forget something important? I quickly called my sister to ask about last year's bar incident. Harry was there, remember? You hit that guy, and later he came back with like 10 buddies. Did you forget? She sounded puzzled. I was blank. That night, I dared to hit someone because I was pissed and also drunk. Harry sorted it out later. When he took us home, you even got his number, saying you'd take him out for a meal the next day. I don't remember any of it. What kind of cliched knight in shining armor scene was that? I turned back and looked at Harry again, feeling even guiltier, then silently put my phone down. My sister was still yelling into the phone. You even kissed him, saying he was handsome and asking if he'd be your live-in son-in-law. I hung up the phone decisively. What did I do? I actually kissed my savior, an act I don't even remember. How disgraceful. What's up? Harry looked at me with suspicion. Had I done something to betray him? He said that as he placed a book on criminal law on the table and gestured to it with his elegant finger. Here, good to read more books. I swallowed hard, watching him put a piece of beef into his mouth. Seafood allergy, criminal law, savior? Don't eat that. I grabbed Harry's chopsticks and held his chin. Spit it out, spit it out. He frowned, stared deeply at me but wouldn't spit. So on impulse, I bent down and kissed him to retrieve the beef. I swear I didn't intend on kissing him again, I just wanted to get that beef out. Thankfully, I did it. Why are you so slow to spit it out? I threw the beef into the trash and shot him a look. Harry didn't react, just gave me a blank look, though his cheeks instantly turned as red as a lobster. What's wrong with you? Are you having an allergic reaction? I quickly handed him 2 allergy pills. Is it that serious? You didn't even swallow it. My hands trembled as I tried giving him the medicine. 10-year sentence, 20-year sentence looming over my head. Oh no, what have I done? I'm not allergic to seafood. Harry suddenly stood up, the chair clattering behind him. I have a video meeting now. He went upstairs without looking back. I felt a sense of relief, at least he walked steadily, though his breathing was a bit off. Thinking about it, maybe I should clear things up. I opened the door and saw Harry had returned to his usual self. He wasn't in a video call, so I bravely said, I need to talk to you. His eyes twinkled as he crossed his arms, waiting for me to speak. I put seafood sauce in the beef on purpose, but I've seen my mistake, I really have. Harry's lips curved slightly, and I didn't mean to take advantage earlier, I just panicked, that's all. Harry's expression darkened, his tone colder than before. Are you done? If so, leave. With my head hanging low, I left, thinking of calling my dad. I failed the mission he entrusted to me. Just couldn't do it. Then it hit me, why not join him instead of fighting? I happily cooked 2 more dishes and brought them upstairs. Harry, dinner. This time, clean and free of any seafood sauce. Harry said nothing, just looked at me quietly. What's up? He was puzzled. He motioned to the computer. I turned to see dozens of eyes staring at me from the screen, all with an eager for gossip vibe. Sorry for interrupting. I chuckled awkwardly. Harry, who's this? I heard someone gossiping. Sorry for disturbing everyone. I'm just the maid he hired, I explained quickly. I was super embarrassed today. I rushed out, but as I closed the door, I heard Harry say, a friend, not a maid. Then came a volley of teasing laughs. Of course, she's not a maid, she's the lady of the house. Isn't she adorable? She and Harry are such a cute couple. My heart skipped a beat and I hurried to the kitchen. Their laughter and Harry's not a maid echoed in my ears. I got careless and forgot to wear gloves when opening the oven. The pain hit, and that's when I realized I got burnt. I lost grip, the tray and baked goods scattered all over. The noise brought Harry downstairs. For the first time, I saw panic cross his usually calm face. He took my hand, and surprisingly, the burning pain turned to cool relief. He gently rinsed my hand under cold water, speaking softly, it'll be okay, let me take you to the hospital. His breath was so close it made me feel fluttery inside. I was dazed as he mentioned the hospital. I just followed him, not watching my steps. And just like that, I tripped over the doorstep. Luckily, he heard the commotion and promptly caught me. I ended up in his arms, catching a whiff of mint-scented cologne, followed by his strong embrace and broad chest cushioning me. I quickly tried to stand, but the soreness in my ankle made me wince. He asked with concern, what's wrong? On the verge of tears, I pointed to my ankle. I think I sprained it. Guess being brilliant comes with a price? Been extra unlucky lately. He steadied me, then, suddenly, lifted me into his arms. I stared at him, handsome as ever, from this angle. He seemed even more reliable. No need, the closeness made it hard to breathe. My voice came out tiny, you just had surgery, I can manage. He ignored me, opened the door, and carried me all the way to the hospital. After some checks, it turned out to be just a simple sprain and burn. A little ointment and rest would do the trick. This private hospital wasn't familiar to me, but from the chat between Harry and the doctor, they seemed like friends. Harry, you're really risking it all for a pretty girl, huh? How long has it been since your surgery? Next time, hire someone for such heavy work. They were talking outside the room, and even though Harry's voice was low, I still heard it. I just didn't want her to get hurt. I quickly called his name. When he came in, I felt a bit guilty. Can I see your wound? He came close and raised an eyebrow. Don't look if it isn't proper. I just lifted his shirt. There was bloodstain on the freshly wrapped bandage. My injuries weren't that bad, I could have taken a cab on my own. But seeing someone unrelated to me go to such lengths made me really touched. Thank you. He gave a pure smile this time. No problem. So here we were, two injured folks, just hanging out at home. Lying on the big bed, I called my dad. Dad, sorry, something came up here. I'm afraid I can't handle the task you gave me. He asked what happened, and I said it was just a minor burn and sprain. After a few comforting words and telling me to rest well, he laughed. Your mom and I are traveling, Diana. You're our family's treasure. Rest well, and I'll visit as soon as I'm back. Through the phone, I could picture my dad grinning from ear to ear. Oh, and take good care of Harry, keep him healthy so he can keep those projects coming my way. Are you hungry, little limper? With my injured hand, cooking was now his job. I thought someone as busy as him couldn't cook, but when he put on an apron and held a spatula, he looked the part. I'm not a little limper, I stared at him, grinning cheekily. Say that again and I'll poke your wound. He raised an eyebrow. You can barely walk over here. I suggested he was also injured, so why not order takeout instead? But he ignored me, busying himself in the kitchen, and surprisingly, the meal turned out pretty tasty. He ate slowly and gracefully. He didn't talk much, but the gentle smile he sometimes gave me felt like it struck right at my softest spot. When he worked, I'd sit by him, and when he was free, we'd watch TV together. Sometimes I'd join him in watching mysteries, and he'd sit through comedies or romances with me. In the afternoon, I needed a shower, but hovered awkwardly at the bathroom door. I'd be careful not to get the wound wet, but just moving around was a hassle. Too much water, little limper like me could easily slip. Thankfully, he was attentive, helping me in gently. After the shower, I opened the door and found him still there, surprised. He extended a hand. Didn't want you to fall, going to rest now? My face turned beet red, as I was only in a nightgown, completely commando underneath. Maybe catching my blush, he gave me a quick once-over, ears turning slightly red too, like he realized. He cleared his throat awkwardly. Or do you want to walk yourself? I'll go on my own. When I was about to leave, he called me back. Your hair's still wet, careful not to catch a cold. Saying that, he grabbed a hairdryer and started drying my hair. His actions were a bit clumsy, fingers occasionally brushing over my ears, stirring up a peculiar feeling. In the mirror, it felt like we were in a pink bubble, just him and me. His head was down, focused, that handsome face making me want to kiss him. Then, I did it. With a peck, his eyes widened in surprise. Even I couldn't believe it, my mind was a jumbled mess. His ears turned bright red, eyes on me, but he was smiling. I stammered out an excuse, eventually mumbling that I'd gone crazy. He laughed, the rhythm of my heart uncontrollably matching a love song's beat. Help, somebody help me. Surprisingly, someone did. Footsteps and a middle-aged woman's voice came from outside. Lily, my son should be home now. Sit in the living room while I get him. With that, a well-dressed woman, appearing in her 40s or 50s, appeared before Harry and me. Harry looked briefly shocked, then called out, Mom. I quickly stood. Hello, ma'am. Harry's mom frowned, eyeing me in a way that made me uneasy. How can you share a bathroom with the help? Harry explained, she isn't the help. His mom's eyes narrowed, her expression darkening as she looked at me again. If she's not the help, it's even more inappropriate to have her here. It's late, shouldn't you make sure she gets home? Girls staying out overnight, it's terrible for their reputation. Harry's face clouded. she's hurt, and there's nobody with her at home. He said that I took care of him when he was hurt, so it's only right he's helping me now. That reasoning didn't help, and Harry's mom grew angrier. After some back and forth, Harry's mom relented, casting a glare my way. Fine. Harry, come on, I'll introduce you to someone. In the living room, a tall, slender girl stood up and waved, flashing Harry a sweet smile. Hi, I'm Lily. I recognized her, likely from entertainment news. Recently, she was in a period drama that exploded in popularity due to its excellent script, renowned director, and star-studded cast. Even as a supporting actress, she shot to fame. Harry was still upset and completely ignored Harry's mom. Lily didn't feel awkward at all. She just smiled and said, "So, nobody's had dinner yet, right? I heard from Auntie you had surgery recently and it's been tough to cook. Let me make dinner for you. I must warn you, my cooking is pretty average, so bear with me." With that, Harry's mom nodded and Lily headed to the kitchen. Lily was just being modest. Her cooking skills were way beyond mine and Harry's. During dinner, the atmosphere was a bit tense. Harry's mom kept praising Lily's cooking, which was true. I nodded along and scarfed down 2 big bowls, but Harry barely ate a thing. Harry's mom gave me a look full of impatience. I swallowed my pride. After dinner, I told Harry, "I think I'll head home. You probably don't need me to stick around anymore." He was silent for a few seconds and said, "Yeah, my mom will be back tomorrow. We live close, and with his injuries, he couldn't drive. So he walked me back, leaning on me for support." The night was quiet, with a gentle breeze every now and then. Under the streetlights, our shadows stretched long. Not much was said as we walked. Once home, I called my parents, only to find out they'd gone to Antarctica. "We'll be back eventually. Oh, the signal's bad here. Bye, Diana." My dad laughed, and hung up. Looking around at the empty house, I felt an unexpected loneliness. It hit me, when did I get so used to Harry being around? And when did I start relying on him so much? Without him, it felt like something was missing. But I snapped myself out of it. Really, was I some kind of masochist? Being everyone's doormat and nanny was bad enough, and now that I've gotten out, what's the point of moping? To shake off the blues, I called my best friend. She said, "Thought it was something serious. I'll come get you. Let's party all night, and I promise you'll forget all about it by morning." At a lively bar, just after my first sip, Harry called. In the noisy crowd, I couldn't hear a thing he said. After saying hello a few times, I realized he'd hung up. Staring at the call history, I figured, this was probably the last time. The next morning, I woke up to find an entertainment news notification. Famous actress Lily suspected to be dating a handsome guy. Opening it up, there was Lily having dinner with a man. I knew him, it was Harry. They looked great together, like a perfect match. Yet somehow, my chest felt tight, and I just couldn't smile thinking about it. When break was nearing its end, my dad finally remembered he had a daughter. He told me the big project lead was getting married, and I should go deliver the wedding money and attend. It felt more like an assignment. But off I went. At the event, I was surprised to run into Harry. Tried avoiding him, but during the meal, I couldn't help stealing a glance. Just one glance led to our eyes meeting. I gave a small, polite smile. His gaze was a mix of emotions, but it didn't matter. After all, Lily was there by his side. I ducked my head, eyes stinging. Suddenly, someone sat next to me and a familiar voice spoke. "Leaving means we're not friends anymore? Not even answering calls?" I looked up to see Harry gazing at me, as gentle and warm as ever. I picked up, but it was at the bar, I explained. Harry didn't say much, just ate quietly beside me. I watched him from the corner of my eye, same deliberate pace as always. But this time, something felt different. Why, with him so near, did he feel so far away? I had some drinks, but my mood stayed the same. Leaving, he blocked my path at the entrance. "You've been drinking. I'll drive you home," he offered. Lily was with him. I really wanted to say not to worry, but Lily chimed in, "Yeah, where do you live? We can drop you off first." Then Harry spoke up, looking at Lily with a slight frown, "Go home by yourself. I'm busy, don't have time for 2 drop-offs." Normally cheerful Lily looked a little ticked. I got in his car. As he drove, I leaned against the window, watching the scenery blur. With a foggy mind and heavy heart, I heard his quiet words, "That was my first kiss." Oh. Huh. My mind raced. What did he mean? The car stopped and memories of cool, soft moments filled my mind. He leaned closer, his face growing larger in front of me, eyes clear and full of something deep. As we drew nearer, my heart raced out of control. He spoke earnestly, "To you, is this just a project?" I couldn't grasp his meaning, all I saw and knew in that moment was him. I fumbled for the door handle, but it was locked. "I just want to know who I am to you. If possible, I'd like to be your boyfriend." I choked out a reply, "What about Lily?" He paused briefly, then broke into a relaxed smile. "We're not even close friends. She helped my mom once on a trip, so I took her to dinner to say thanks. The other time was just coincidence." I looked everywhere, heart fluttering aimlessly, unsure what to say. But diving back into those eyes, only one thought filled my head. I wanted to kiss him. Hesitating, inching closer, I suddenly kissed him on the corner of his lips. I felt my body trembling slightly. Then, in response, he wrapped me in a tight hug and gave me an irresistible deep kiss. "All right," I agreed. Just like that, I ended up with Harry. The next day, Harry sent me a message saying he's downstairs at my place. I rushed down. "What's up?" He stared at me, "Dating." I cluelessly followed him, and when I got out of the car, I almost dropped my glasses. "A construction site?" He nodded. I rolled my eyes. What a great place for a date. Turns out, the clients were visiting recently, so he was busy and had to check the site every day. I asked him, "Why don't you finish your work before coming to see me?" "I just want to see you whenever I can." I was touched, then he added, "After all, some people are like little klutzes who turn themselves into limp kittens without supervision." Later, he took me to see a movie, and he picked a comedy I liked. We had everything, bubble tea, popcorn, you name it. After the movie, we went for a walk, and that's when my dad called me again. "Diana, we're home." "Where are you?" I hesitated, not sure how to explain. "Dad, I'm with your archenemy." "Are you happy?" "Dad, not only did you fail to deal with Harry, but your daughter also ended up dating him." "No way." Just when I was stuttering, Harry grabbed the phone. "I'm with her on a walk." I heard my dad burst out laughing, "Oh. I get it now. Harry, I'm back. Let's have dinner sometime, my treat." Harry pleasantly agreed, and my dad asked him to pass the phone back to me. As soon as I got it, my dad's booming voice almost pierced my eardrums. "Diana, how can I praise you enough? You actually got Harry. I knew it, sending you to get him was the right move. You've gone above and beyond, come back and I'll reward you." My dad hung up and left me blushing. I sheepishly stared at Harry and cleared my throat. That get meant I was sent to help you with chores at home. Seeing his amused expression, I could only chuckle awkwardly. "Do you believe me?" He smiled and nodded. Of course, small fry wouldn't have any bad ideas, would she? Running into my backyard to swipe some chives, huh? I felt my face heat up, but my stubbornness flared. Who said that? I also know how to pull the refrigerator and AC plugs. He kissed me. But you've connected the plug between us. Diana, I love you. Dating Harry is so easy. I don't have to do anything except be his little goofball. Yet, I still denied it. I told him, "I'm really smart, remember I changed your mind and made you grant the project to my dad?" Being able to brainwash Harry, that's a story I can tell for a lifetime. He raised an eyebrow at me, but some thoughts you can't change. I asked, what? He suddenly stood up, got down on one knee, and held up a beautifully crafted ring, looking at me with such tenderness. Diana, will you marry me? He said the moment he saw me. His heart told him I was the one. I was stunned, looking at the ring, then back at him. You will always be the most important person in my life, I love you. I nodded, watching him slip the ring on my finger with such care. I'm going to marry Harry, and for something like this, I don't even need to ask my dad's opinion. I still remember the first meal we had with my parents, Harry and me. My dad was so excited he drank 3 large cups of white wine like it was nothing, almost declaring brotherhood with Harry. Bro, oh no, Harry, when are you and my daughter getting married? Why not now? She's been over the legal marrying age for a while, and it doesn't matter if she hasn't graduated yet. Our wedding was planned entirely by Harry. The venue was grand and lavish, the ceremony thoughtful and heartfelt. But what struck me the most was when we knelt before my dad, and he hastily pulled out his phone. My son-in-law, hey wait, don't move. A few clicks and my dad snapped some photos of Harry kneeling before him. Then, within 10 seconds, he uploaded the photos to his social media. The arch-rival finally bows to me, highlight of my life. Harry and I exchanged a smile. Looks like this is how we'll spend our lives. Epilogue. I'm Harry. After graduating college, I took over my dad's small company. With years of dedicated work, the company grew larger. But so did the competition. Like that senior, John. Our businesses were the same type, so it was inevitable to run into some bumps along the way. I was respectful and courteous, but he wasn't quite so nice back. One day, I came home to find the chives I had planted in my backyard missing. From the security cameras, I saw him bringing a girl to my house. At the time, all I thought was how adorable she was. There wasn't a single person home, yet she moved like a sneaky little mouse stealing rice. Stealing, while also keeping up with her dad's grumbling. The moment the camera caught her face, my heart skipped a beat. That wasn't the first time I'd seen Diana. A year ago, she got herself into trouble rescuing someone at a bar, and I had to bail her out. She said she would treat me to dinner, but then she forgot. Since they hadn't done anything too extreme, I let it go. But sometimes, during my downtime at work, I'd find myself thinking about that girl. Brave yet shy, she was adorable. Later, I had surgery, and my company wasn't doing well. So, I had to go out for drinks and networking. When I got home, the pain was intense, and I started hallucinating. I imagined that girl, as if she were sneaking into my place. I watched her unplug my fridge, unsure if this was real until I pinched myself. I couldn't figure out what was going on with her and her father, but when I looked at her clueless face, I had a strange idea. I treated her like a babysitter and asked her to get me water. I threatened her with the trespassing law to make her take care of me. With a few legal terms, she was trembling and agreed to help me. This girl had a bit too much confidence and kept talking in my ear. I thought she was insanely cute, and I couldn't help but give her dad half of my project. When I overheard her dad praising her on the phone, her smug tone made me want to rush into the room and pinch her cheeks hard. Later, I noticed her staring at me. Her dreamy gaze made my heart flutter. I gradually realized she might like me too. Otherwise, why would she steal my first kiss in the bathroom? Yeah, it was really my first kiss. I thought I could confess to her that night, but my mom showed up with a woman I didn't care for. She didn't like Diana, and I didn't know how to console her. I just watched Diana walk away. In the middle of the night, I couldn't resist calling her, but all I heard was loud music and clinking glasses. I was worried, so I had people search every bar in town until I found her. She was pass-out drunk, but thankfully, surrounded by girls, she was safe. I stood outside, watching over her until she got home safely and turned off the lights. Only then, could I finally relax. But Diana, do you even like me? After a few hectic days at work, I saw her again at a friend's wedding. She smiled at me across the crowd, and yet I could still see the disappointment in her eyes. At that moment, I felt at peace. I took her home, determined to learn how she felt. Thankfully, even with all the misunderstandings, we ended up together. I carefully attended to her needs and emotions. I cared deeply about everything concerning her. I wanted, more than anything, to make her happy. Later on, we got married. I married the girl I fell for at first sight. I promised to treat her well, better than myself. I also said I love her, and I truly do. This feeling arose the first time we met, and nothing can ever change that.